are back. It's been 2 weeks, but FansReact Friday is back with myself, Matthew Leeds. We were meant to be having an extra face on tonight in the form of Colin Roberts. However, his family's got COVID and he's had to look after them, do the shopping, and be a good all-round dad for his family. So he's not here tonight. But however, we have got two lovely people. Firstly, Johnny Hawley, how are you doing, mate? How's your year been going so far?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Bit like Sunderland. It's always up and down in it, but it's always interesting.
Yes, of course. And it's good to have you here. And we've also got Dan as well. Hello, Dan.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. I'd like to say we've missed you, but, well, we have.
I've missed you too.
Good. So you should. All right, then. So, hello to Thane SAFC and Acacia and Joanne, the regulars. As always, of course, it is January, so the transfer window is wide open. However, we are coming to the last days of January now, so it's starting to shut a little bit, and the last few deals are trying to get them over the line. Johnny, do you think Sunderland are done now in the transfer window, or do you still think we got a few positions to try and strengthen?
Well, there's a rather large elephant in the room in terms of deals that we hope might get over the line.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think, the vast majority of Sunderland fans would, hope that gets done, and it would be fantastic to see a certain number 18 back in the red and white. But the thing that's I quite like about this regime is you never really know, because sometimes a deal will just happen out of nowhere and all of a sudden it's reported, it breaks on Twitter or in the Echo or whatever, and then 2 hours later they've signed. It was a bit like that with, Danny Bart, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Kind of just all of a sudden, we're signing him, and then he was in. Which can, reduce the stress a bit instead of following a saga for 3 weeks or whatever. So I wouldn't say we're definitely done, but I think even if we didn't bring anyone else in, I don't think we've had a bad window. I think if we could bring 1, 2 at a push, we'd be saying, that's a brilliant January, that. But I think the way we are, I'd take it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, as you say, I prefer it actually when the speculation starts and then the player actually signs on the exact same day. It just kind of gets over and done with. There's nothing I hate more than just rumors. Literally, rumors. I just can't stand them. When people are saying, "Oh, is he going to sign? Is he not going to sign? Oh, he's in talks. He's going for a medical." I don't care. I just want to see him play for the club. It honestly just gets on my nerves. And this Defoe thing is just playing on everyone's heartstrings. It's just. It's one of them things where you always think, oh, that would be great if it could happen. But will it ever happen? Will it be that amazing it could ever happen? Yeah. But I don't know. Dan Humphrey, how do you feel about our January transfer window? And would you like to see Jermaine Defoe return to Sunderland?
Oh, I've got all the questions there, haven't you? I've been very impressed so far. As Johnny said, I do like the ones that come out of nowhere. You see, Patrick Roberts was sort of rumoured for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden Danny Bat comes out of nowhere. And is it Bat? Yeah, that's how you say, isn't it? Danny Bat. But yeah, he looks like a very, very solid sign. There's obviously one promotion in League One with Wolves a few years ago. I like how we seem to be strengthening the right areas. Before we sort of just bought players that we thought might do well or right in this league, but instead we know we need to centre half, and we've gone and got a big commanding and loud centre back. And then in terms of options, as we were saying just before the show started, our bench is getting really sort of poor over the last few weeks. But all of a sudden now we've got so many options, especially on the wing. Obviously with the arrival of Roberts, Clark, you're wondering how they're all going to fit in, because we did do in last game. You probably won't be dropping many people unless injuries are needed to. But yeah, I have been very impressed. But I don't think it's over. It's not over. There's always a few shocks, twists and turns to come. Especially, I think there'll be a few outgoings as well. Wouldn't be surprised if someone like Aidan O'Brien might leave the club in January, or because we've got that much attacking depth, and if we bring another striker in, there's no chance that O'Brien's getting any minutes of him. I think the best thing for O'Brien in particular would be to move on at this time. So I just don't see a future cut out here for him. But yeah, I think obviously we've had rumours of that Northampton fullback as well, I believe. never watched him play, so I don't know much about him. But obviously, as Johnny said, Jermaine Defoe. I mean, who wouldn't want Jermaine Defoe back? I've seen a few people, but I don't think how you can explain really that one. Even it's sort of a last dance, really, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I've seen those photoshops of him in the Michael Jordan thing, and then, but yeah, it would be quite nostalgic, I'd say, for Defoe to come back. But whether it will happen, I don't know. The more it goes on, the more I think maybe it won't get over the line. But I just have to wait and see, because, as you said, I don't think he will be. I don't think he'll go to like a smaller club around in League One. I think it'll either be us, or we might just sort of pack it in there and then, or just it might. I think the most realistic thing, other than to come to Sunderland, would probably be to play for a club near London or where he's from.
Maybe he's in the Championship. I could see him. Maybe he's taking a club in the Championship, but
and obviously
he's not going
game
to go
time
into the League One team.
If we play him with one up top and Stewart's our man, then maybe that might be a factor. Maybe that's not influencing him, but I mean, he definitely would want to come back, I think, and it just depends whether Johnson thinks he'll fit in or not. And as I do agree that there's a lot of things that have to get into place for something like that for a deal to happen. But yeah, of course, everyone would love Jermaine Defoe, wouldn't they? One last dance, one last hurrah.
Yeah.
So,
some interesting comments coming through.
Yeah, I know.
Matthew, I think you've spied those, haven't you?
Yeah, no, I've seen them. No, anyway, I wanted to say on Jermaine Defoe, like, I'd love him to come back, but he's. I know this thing you say of a club closer to where he's from, and the only other option I could actually see that would probably work would maybe him going to Charlton. Because
he's played for them, didn't he?
No, don't think he. I don't think he did.
He played for West Ham and Bournemouth when he was younger.
Yeah. You're probably thinking of Darren Bent. Done.
Bent used to play for Charlton. Right?
Yeah, he played for Charlton. But obviously, that's a club in London and whatever. A decent sized football club. So he may be. That can maybe be a move for him. I'd love him to come back to Sunderland. I don't think there would be a more meaningful move for Jermaine Defoe to come back to Sunderland, and what a story it would be. But how sort of bad it would look that we've actually had to wait all these years for Defoe to come back for us to actually take a step forward and get promoted back again. But anyway, it would be a fantastic story, and from what he can offer at the age of 39, I know a lot of people just look at that and think, well, he's old and we want sort of young and exciting players, but for what he would bring, he'd bring almost a coaching role as well, because he could work with Lee Johnson a lot, and the quality and the experience that he's had. Even offer on the pitch, 39 years old, I reckon he'd be still one of the fittest players in the club by far.
And he's bloody fit as well, to say he's 39. That guy's in good physical condition. I reckon he's in better shape than probably half our squad. Hey, I'm not... Don't start with that.
Wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with
it. But no, I think you've got to think too much about Defoe now. No, I think he's like you say, he probably wouldn't be first choice ahead of Stewart, but it's not like he'd be coming in like made of cheese strings and melted chocolate with joints made of glass, and you'd be lucky if you see him on the pitch for 10 minutes a week. But he's clear, like you say, he's clearly still got something to offer. Whether that's with us or someone else, just fingers crossed it's not a promotion rival if it does come to that.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. So I think it would be a great move from to come, but we'll see. Whatever will be.
Oh no, we're not going to Wembley.
Well, hopefully we're not this season. Fingers crossed. But one question I wanted to ask, and I've been waiting all week to ask, now me and Sean will have it out on Twitter a little bit, of who actually deserves credit for bringing these players into the club. Dan, I'll start with you. Is it just KLD and Speakman, or does Lee Johnson have do you think Lee Johnson should get a lot of credit for these incomings as well?
I think, as High School Musical once said, we're all in this together. I think it's a part. Everyone plays a part, don't they? Everyone plays a part, don't they? I mean, for starters, when Sean says it's completely Speakman, I do disagree with him on that. Obviously, Speakman is him and Stuart Harvey. Their main role is to recruit players and fit the model and that. But it's very unlikely that manager's going to want. So you're gonna have the manager has to have the sort of final say, I'd say, in terms of if he doesn't want them to come to the club then and play under him, then he's probably not going. The deal's not going to go through. So it's probably that. I think Speakman, Harvey, and people like that will probably make a longer list, and LJ will pick from their list, which they've got the data on, or who sort of things will fit in the squad and that. And obviously Kirill's probably involved as well, but at the end of the day, Kirill's one with them with the money, so everything's all sort of linked. But LJ has to have an opinion on the players coming in. Don't get me wrong, I think a lot of them will be through data and that. But as we know, Matthew Pritchard was definitely an LJ signing, as Tori told us that one, and we know that for sure. And I think he will. Some of them will be his players. But yeah, I think you can't. It's not really that under one person. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. He deserves credit in something. And as Lee Johnson said, obviously, when the speculation about Defoe, he said all parties need to be happy with the move. So it goes from the the director of football, whatever Speakman's title is. I think obviously KLD and then Lee Johnson and then his coaching staff. Everyone wants to be happy. It's not KLD and Speakman are just going to pick whoever and then say Lee Johnson, hey Lee, go on, do your worst of that. It's not like that at all. So yeah, he does definitely deserve credit because players like Danny Bart, for example, like I think he's tried to sign him like twice before. And this is the third time and he's managed to get him. And I think when a player signs they pick a club on a number of different things. But one of the most important things is the manager. It's all good and well playing for a football club, but if you're playing under a manager who just, look at Patrick Van Aanholt, for example, who loved playing at Sunderland and loved working under Sam Allardyce, and then David Moyes came in, and then that all changed. So, that's kind of how it works. Johnny, do you have the same opinion on the matter? Do you think Lee Johnson deserves credit?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, I've been critical of Johnson. I still have reservations, and there's issues you can pick faults with. I mean, you can pick faults with any manager really, except maybe it's Alex Ferguson or someone. But I definitely think he deserves at least some credit. You can debate the level to which he's involved in specific signings, but I think a big thing that I noticed is if when the club gives the little statement on like a new signing, they'll be we've signed such and such on such a contract, and have a little paragraph from the manager. Johnson, with every player, will make some sort of mention of, well, we scouted him for this length of time. The last signing it was we've looked at him with Jack Clark. It was, over the last 6 months, we've decided this about his game. And with other signings, it's been, we identified this quality in him, or there was this circumstance that made it a good signing. So he's very clearly involved in the process of decision making. Whether he signs off on every transfer, whether he's got more or less say than someone else, it's all the internal politics of the club. But I think it's pretty clear to see the difference in recruitment now to what it used to be, when we'd get at best a little soundbite from a manager saying, he's a good player, he'll play some games, we hope he's good, compared to what is, in my eyes, clearly a more in-depth and thought out team structure.
Definitely. And I think this is probably why we've had to be a little bit more patient with our signings as well. You want to get the right, obviously you want to get the right players, but you also want to make the right deal. You don't want to pay too much money, and you want to get them on a right contract as well. I think Patrick Roberts, the deal took a little bit longer because it was originally meant to be a loan deal, but we've got him on a permanent now. So, I think it was worth maybe the extra week or so to try and get that one over the line. But Johnny, I wanted to ask you as well, after the Sheffield Wednesday game, you were saying, Lee Johnson's kind of got to go, and I don't think anyone could really blame you for thinking that, obviously, because it was horrendous, that Sheffield Wednesday game. It really was horrendous. But what are you thinking of Lee Johnson now? Are you happy that we've stuck with him?
Yes, overall, I think. Obviously, we went on that fantastic run up until pretty much the last show, I think. And then I can't remember whether there was one after that, but the last show I was on, we were all riding high. We were saying, we might get 10, 11, 12 points out the next 5 games. And then we went on another bit of a stinking run, and we've pulled it round a bit now. But I think even that little I think it was a 3-game stretch. It was, what was it, Wickham, Lincoln, and someone else. Can't remember those 3 games where I think we picked up 2 points out of the 3 games. It doesn't end your season. It doesn't mean we're not going to get promoted. Yeah, Accrington, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the season's over. It doesn't mean we can't get automatic promotion. And even if we finish in the playoffs, or we don't, but even if we do, obviously you can still get promoted that way. But it just reinforces that doubt of when it comes to crunch time in the season, when it comes to games where you can't drop points because you're running out of games at the back end of the season, and we get the 6-pointers against whoever it might be. There's always in the back of my mind anyway, with Lee Johnson, the thought that we could be on the best run of form in the world, but the team might just go out on the pitch and forget how to play football. And there could be any number of reasons for that. Confidence, fitness, tactics, personnel changes. You can point at a million different things that can cause a team's form to change quickly, but it just feels like you're rolling dice every time we play, and 5 out of the 6 numbers result in us playing well, but there's that one that you just think, it's just always there, and I don't like that feeling.
No.
So I'm glad we kept him, because we are still doing well, and I rate the way that he's integrated into the higher structure, with Speakman, the data and everything like that. I like the ethos, but I don't think I'll ever be 100% comfortable until we've actually got the results on the board.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one, because Lee Johnson, I think obviously we're second. We've stayed in the top 2. This is probably the longest time we've managed to actually stay in the top 2 throughout our whole time in League One. We're sat second in the table. I think we're still second in the table now. Obviously, you look at the amount of games we've played compared to other teams, etc. But we're still sat there in second, and we have had bad results, but we've also the good results that we've had have been really, really good. And you see that how the team plays, and they play as one team. It's not a collection of individuals. Some individuals play well, some individuals don't. We still managed to get a win. I find our team at the moment, they kind of all lose together, but also they all win together as well.
Yeah.
The Wickham game and the Accrington game for me was so disappointing. And for the Wickham game in particular, I wouldn't put any sort of blame down to Lee Johnson in that game, because it was a really difficult game anyway. Wickham were playing really, really well. I say no, they weren't. They were playing like Wickham do, and
they were playing effectively, weren't they?
Yeah, at Adams Park, and it's just the way they play, and we play a different way. But we very nearly did it. And it was very, I think it was quite unlucky, really, really unlucky, absolutely heartbreaking, to not come away with a win there. Accrington as well. I saw Sean again trying, sort of asking about, questions got to be asking Lee Johnson. Listen, if Flanagan, if it goes through Flanagan's legs, you can't blame Lee Johnson for that. Lee Johnson doesn't control Flanagan's legs. He hasn't got a remote control controlling his legs. It's just, if Flanagan clears that, we win the game 1-0. No one says anything about Lee Johnson. It sort of just, it keeps bringing it up a little bit. Granted, the Lincoln game was horrendous, and what was even more horrendous was the pitch. The pitch at the Stadium of Light, I don't know what's happened. The £500,000, we need to stop. We need to try and get a refund on that, because whatever's happened there. I mean, it's just it becomes almost impossible to play our own style of football. We're a good footballing side. Accrington's pitch and Wickham's pitch was literally like a bowling green. It was lovely. Their pitches were immaculate, and we come to our pitch. We play at our stadium, and it's almost, we're put at a disadvantage. But that shouldn't happen, because we're playing at our own stadium. And Lee Johnson and the coach and stuff, they were fuming at the pitch, because it really was bad, really, really bad. God knows what's happened there, but I don't know. Right, I'll go to the live chat, because I haven't really been
Oh, on that, just before you start putting comments out, I saw somebody asked a question about how we're doing compared to other. Patrick Ward asked how we're doing compared to other seasons. I did a little quick Google and I couldn't find like the table after 28 games, but I did the points per game.
Yeah.
And we're on something like 1.94 or 5 points per game this season. The last few seasons we were on 1.6-ish, 1.6-ish. And then the best season we had was, I think, 1.85 points per game, the first season in League One under Jack Ross.
Yeah.
So in terms of points per game, we're quite significantly ahead of where we've been the last couple of years. And they usually say, don't they, 2 points per game will see you there or thereabouts in a promotion chase, and we're just under that. So
yeah, we can climb back up there again. Obviously, we've strengthened as well. So hopefully we do get there. All right. Was that the comment that you referred to there? Patrick Ward's totally agree. Jermaine Defoe back, but he wants to play and maybe would cause some bad feeling in this with the squad. Who got us this far this season? Why should he be before anyone else? Just looking at both sides. Well, it's a fair point, and I wouldn't think that Jermaine Defoe almost just deserves to be in front of anyone else. But what you've got to look at is if Ross Stewart gets injured, who have we got? Aidan O'Brien.
Benji.
Well, yeah, Benji. But like, all jokes aside, I mean, this is kind of what we're looking at here. A lot of people critique Lee Johnson for not having, loads of people critique managers for not having a plan B. But what if our plan B was to go and play with two strikers, one big man, one little man? So it's kind of a lose-lose in a way, because you bring someone like that in and goes, well, he doesn't deserve to just get in the team over everyone else. But then you also critique him for not having a plan B and him only playing one striker. So you've got to be able to chop and change the way you play your formations. And Jermaine Defoe coming in, maybe him and Stewart up front. Dan, do you agree with that as well? Do you see the point Patrick's making?
What about say it again?
Jermaine Defoe coming back and getting in front of everyone else.
Obviously, you've got to earn yourself to be back in the team. You won't just come back and all of a sudden start every game. But you've got to show in training and put the effort in, and show the same respect for everyone else as you would for any player, really. I think you don't just automatically get to come back and start, especially with Stewart doing so well. But it's when he gets the opportunity. If he takes the opportunity, scores a few goals, then that's when you give him the start. That's the same with any other player, really. I think Lee Johnson it seems to me like a guy who probably would treat all his players the same sort of respect. I thought it does give most players an opportunity to perform, and he's given a few young lads games, and they've done all right. And people like Daniel, when he's started them and given them a run of games, he's got where he is now. So I think I mean, it's a difficult one. It is a difficult one, but he doesn't automatically get a start every game just because he's Jermaine Defoe. It's sort of like any other player, really. You've got to perform and train. You've got to have the want and drive to do well, and you've got to, when you get a chance, take it grasp it with both hands, really. But yeah.
All right. Yep. Fair enough. Johnny, do you have the same opinion as that?
Yeah, I mean, from everything we've seen about Defoe, both when he was here and just what people in football say about him, he seems the type who wouldn't mind having to get his head down and prove himself in training first. So, to be honest, that wouldn't even really be a concern too much for me if I was part of the team to bring him in. I think the attitude's well documented to be spot on, really. It'd be just purely for me, it would just be footballing considerations. Has he still got it to be effective at this level? I think you'd probably say he does. Is he fit enough? I think I'd certainly say he is. And I also think you made a good point about, the quality on the bench and the strength in depth that we do or don't have. If you look at the bench and you see either a load of under-23s who shouldn't really be on the bench, or you see people like O'Brien, you've got Benji, you've got those sorts of players, you don't look at them and think they're really going to change a game. They can make an impact and they can have positive outcomes on matches, but if it's 80 minutes and you desperately need a goal, who do you want to look to on the bench? Aidan O'Brien or Jermaine Defoe, I mean, you almost feel silly asking the question. And that's the same with bringing in, obviously, we've brought in Clark, we've brought in Roberts, we've got Pritchard, we've got Embleton, we've got Diaku, we've got Gooch, we've got, all of these players who can play in these similar positions. But that's what you want, you know what I mean? As long as we can keep them all happy, which is a job for the manager.
Yeah.
You'd far rather be seeing a bench full of players who could all start a game than a bench full of players who you're thinking, well, if somebody gets injured, he can fill in, but beyond that.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. Completely agree. And I think, for everyone that's against the bringing back Defoe, I mean, that point of you look to the bench, who's going to change the game? Is it going to be O'Brien or Defoe? Who would you pick? And even if even if Defoe was, 55 years old, I'd still probably have him over Aidan O'Brien coming on. Anyway, moving on back to the dropping everything there and moving back onto the comments. Got my dad, who is pleased that Jack Diamond has gone back to Harrogate Town on loan for the rest of the season. Is everyone else pleased with that move?
Yes. In short, I'm with your dad on that one. I'll be honest with you, Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
I don't particularly think he's a very good footballer. I'll leave it at that. But yeah,
it's just take it or leave it. Really, he's clearly not going to make it at Sunderland, is he? Which is a shame, but it's not going to impact the team.
Exactly. I mean, some people think he's amazing because he gets the ball and he runs, but he doesn't run anywhere with it.
Lyndon Gooch syndrome sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. But at least Lyndon Gooch has this. Well, compared to Jack Diamond, Lyndon Gooch's end product is unbelievable.
Yeah, I say that as somebody who rates Gooch as well.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Spannerman has said Defoe has had his day. Let's move on. Well, you think bringing Defoe back isn't like bringing Danny Graham back, for example. Jermaine Defoe is an unbelievable athlete still. And he hasn't really played too much this season, so I think he's got plenty of legs on him to if he does come back to give something. Patrick Ward says, I think we've had a good window. Let's hope it works out for us. And then he's at it again. It's a bad job. We're looking at a 39-year-old as a good signing. Yeah, but when you put it in words like that, but it is Jermaine Defoe, remember.
To be fair, you can reduce anything down to those sort of terms. You could talk about Callum Doyle and be like, oh, well, we're, a club of the size of Sunderland relying on an 18-year-old in the centre of defence and we don't even own.
Yeah.
You can make it sound a bit rubbish, but
exactly. I remember watching Thane SAFC's video at the start of the season, and he said, if you really think that bringing in a 17-year-old is gonna, if we bring him in, we're gonna be mid-table at best. And I mean, he's one of the best players in our squad, and we're sitting second. Been top of the league a good couple of times as well. So, don't ever judge a book by its cover. My dad also said it would be good to bring in an experienced keeper. Hoffman, I don't know what everyone thinks about Hoffman, because I mean, Spannerman did say Hoffman not doing well, Paul, and he said not really, distribution and kicking terrible, and not that much better than the useless Burge. But to be honest, I'm not so convinced with Hoffman. To be honest with you, I know he's a young keeper, and we like to make this thing of, well, don't give him too much criticism because he's young, but at the end of the day, he is in goal for us. And we're relying on him as our last line of defence. Johnny, are you that convinced by Hoffman? Would you like to see us maybe bring in an experienced goalkeeper additionally?
With Burge out of action for an indeterminate period of time, I'd definitely like to see somebody brought in if we could, even if it's just a little stopgap till the end of the season. Just because competition for places is good, if nothing else, and cover. I rate Hoffman. I think he's a good keeper, and I think provided we manage to go up and keep him, I think he'll do a good job for us for a while. I mean, he's only 22, which is very young for a keeper. So he's got plenty of room to grow. But obviously, the downside of that then is, while he's doing his growing and he's getting his experience and he's improving, he's not there yet. He's not the finished article, so he's going to make mistakes. I think we've had some stinking keepers in the last few years, and he's clearly not the level of some of them. We've had Steele and we've had Camp and we've had Router and we've had some real poor people playing in net. I think he's definitely good enough for the level we're at. Could we do better? Probably. We could probably bring in a 30, 31-year-old who's bounced around the Championship, the League One, and would probably be more reliable for the next 6 to 12 months. But then looking 12 to 18 months to 2 years in the future, I think for me, Hoffman's, is worth investing in. Not to mention the fact that he's playing behind, at times, a bit of a shaky defence. I mean, Dan's mentioned Flanagan. Well, I think it was Dan. Somebody mentioned Flanagan a couple of times making some mistakes. When you're behind that, you can never feel 100% confident, I don't think. But for me, he's not the problem. I'd be looking at other positions before the keeper.
Yep, fair enough. Dan, are you so convinced by Hoffman?
I think the jury's still up, really. I wouldn't criticise the bloke, as Johnny said, he's 22-year-old, or 22, 23. For a keeper, that's a bit like Candle being 18, really, because let's be fair, you don't see many keepers starting until at least that sort of age, really, and obviously they're going to play a lot longer than the outfield players. And I think he's done a decent job, to be fair. It's weird coming to a new country. He speaks very good English from the interviews I've seen. He seems like he sort of has a good sort of gets on well with the dressing room, and I think you just got to give him a chance. I think a keeper's a really harsh position, to be fair, as a keeper, because you're damned if you do, damned if you don't sometimes, you know what I mean? You get criticised. You can have a blinder and you make one silly mistake, and then it's sort of all your hard work's gone to waste. And I don't think his mistakes have been as often as other keepers we've had, and it is definitely more on a rare occasion. Don't get me wrong, he's not a perfect keeper. Do I think he's good enough at the moment? Yeah, I think he's good enough for the League One. Whether he'll be able to do it in a Championship, we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, we get promoted. But I completely agree with Johnny. To be honest, he's not the problem at the moment. It's been the defence that has led to this problem, and some of the goals we concede. Like it's not really like ones where you think, oh, he could have saved that very often. Do you know what I mean? It normally is a mistake in a defence, or and let's not forget he has made some brilliant saves as well. I like one Gillingham. Remember that header from outside the box at Gillingham, leaped across. He's made some very good saves. So
was that double save against? Was it Ipswich at all?
Yeah. And so as a first season, as a young lad who's playing in a new country, I don't think you can complain too much. And I hope hopefully all he will do is improve and obviously gain more and more experience. But yeah, I think there's definitely potential there, and he's a big lad, and he seems to enjoy it. He loves posting on Instagram and all that stuff. Seems to love the club and sort of respect the fans, and he seems to get playing for Sunderland. To be fair, I do appreciate that. He seems to get.
I feel like he really does, doesn't he? He's clearly bought the area and the club and the whole ethos around it. Which
he appreciates the club and all that. So I think for me, I think it'd be just fine at the moment. I believe.
Yep, no, fair enough. I just want to say hello to Jam Sani as well, who is on the chat as well. Hello, Sandwich.
Hello,
hope you're all right. I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. And
love you boys.
Yes, absolutely mortal at Accrington. I was gonna say on Hoffman, like it's probably one of his worst games. I think might have been on Saturday against Portsmouth. I mean, he was like some of the stuff he was doing, like my heart was just in my mouth for most of it. Like there was a few times where he very nearly gave the ball away in his own box, and there was a point where this kind of long ball was played forward by Portsmouth, and Bart was running, was going to head it back to Hoffman, I think, and then Hoffman ran out as well, and then they both ended up missing it. But then I think it went out for a goal kick, and you're just like, if both of you go for it and completely miss it, the Portsmouth players threw on goal. Whereas if you stay in your goal, Bart misses it. Okay, worst case scenario, he misses it. At least you're still in goal. At least you're the last line of defence.
You can still make the save.
You can still possibly make the save. Yeah. I think, there's obviously areas of Hoffman's game where he does need to dramatically improve, but I think the foundations are there, and he's showing enough signs that he has got the potential there to be even better. Not like Lee Burge, where he's about 28 or something like that now, and I don't really think he's going to get that much better. But wish him all the best as well with his get.
Course,
what are you going to say, Dan?
I was just one thing about Hoffman is the only thing I don't really like about it, he doesn't seem to catch the ball.
Yeah, he punches
it every time. Like it's coming to him, and all he just put your hands up. He's a big lad, just nice to collect. Bit of send the bloody uppercut or something, and it's like, man, just.
It feels like a very continental European way of goalkeeping, I think, doesn't it? You see a lot of keepers in Germany and Spain and Italy and France who they all seem to be allergic to catching it. You think, but just
he loves a classic save for the cameras as well. Like a
he does, doesn't he? Yeah,
it's because a punch looks better for the cameras, I think, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
When it ends up in the back of the net, it doesn't. I'll tell you.
Because
it's not good for my blood pressure.
No, as you say, Dan, he loves his Instagram, so it's probably better for a picture. Try and punching it. All right, then we'll go back to the live chat. Some more debates over Lee Johnson in there. I see Jake Parkinson wants to know score predictions for the Bolton game. I'm going to say 3-0 to Sunderland, Johnny.
I'll go with 2-0.
Fair enough. Dan?
Well, 3-2, 1-0 Sunderland.
3-2, 1-0 Sunderland.
Yeah, you said 3.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we're going 3-2-1.
I just saw you made 2 score predictions there. I was like 3-2 and then 1-0.
No, 1-0 Sunderland. I reckon Danny Bat. Danny Bath had a...
That's how you pronounce it. B-A-R-T, like from Simpsons.
Yeah. So Bart Simpson's going to score in the 1-0 for you.
Bart Simpson's going to have bullet head at the back stick.
I fancy Stuart and Neil to get goals in a 2-0 win.
Very good, very good. Well, let's hope that is the case. What else have we got here? Gary K saying we have 18 games left. So if we get another 36 points from those games, we finish on 90 points. Not that many teams. Well, I think Hull City finished with 86 points last season and won the league.
89.
89.
Yeah,
so
he's got all the stats tonight, isn't he?
Michael's do, lads. You do really worry about that.
So you'll be on Quest soon, Johnny. EFL. Sitting there with like Ian Holloway.
On Quest, the guy who does the podcast on Quest. He loves us. I love him because he got all the stats and he seems to big us up every Saturday night when I watch it after the game. He loves talking about Sunderland.
He does, yeah.
I think he's actually quite a good pundit because he actually knows his League One stuff. So I quite enjoy watching Quest actually.
Maybe he might be lucky enough to get invited on Fans React Friday one night.
We need to start implanting Sunderland fans as pundits in more and more channels until eventually we can just we can overwhelm them and take over.
Exactly. Until we take over.
We've already got Dave Jones in the big hot seat in Sky Sports, so we've already got the top of the tree. We just need to get all the way down now.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll be there with Roy Keane soon, hopefully. All right. We've also got Michael Bowers in as well. Good evening, Michael. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, of course. He says when the next 2 games we're back at 2 points per game, of course. So hopefully we'll get that. My slim and well journey. So my mum's in the chat. Hello. Just joking. That's not my mum.
Just quickly on the 2 points per game point as well. Since we've been in League One, obviously there was the season that didn't finish. So ignoring that one, 2 points per game, you would have got automatic promotion every time. You only wouldn't have won the league the first season we came down, where Luton got 94 points. So obviously 46 game season, 92 points would be 2 points a game. But even then, you'd have still finished second. So if we do manage to keep the 2 points per game, you get pretty short odds on us going up, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't really like stats or anything like that. I just want us to win. Do you know what I mean? Like I found like before games, everyone's going like passing around the team news. And to be honest with you, the last few games, I've just been going in, not really looking at the team news and just, because I kind of know who we're going to play anyway, because obviously there's quite a lot of injuries and whatnot. You're only going to have sort of bits and chops and changes here with Corey Evans and maybe Winchester playing or whatever. But at the moment, I'm just turning up to games and just wanting us to win. Just win. And then whatever. That's the best we can do. But we've also got Stevie as well. He says, I totally understand where Sean is coming from in that Lee Johnson should have told the defence not to go up for the corner as it was late in the game management. So should organise his players. Absolutely. I do agree with that as well. I think you're throwing nearly everyone forward for a corner when you win 1-0 and sort of the last 10 minutes of a game is not a very smart move whatsoever. I'm sure everyone can agree on that as well. And also when it goes through your defender's legs on the halfway line and there's no one else there, it's not very good.
I wonder if on that one you could almost still point a bit of the finger at Lee Johnson, but you know how we set up that leadership group early in the season? It was these are the guys who are the leaders on the pitch, the voices of the management on the pitch. I mean, half of them are injured anyway. It was McGeady and O'Neill, I think, were in that group of players, and they haven't seen the pitch in a while. Flanagan was one of them, I think, and he has his moments. But I almost wonder if when you've got that sort of when you've got 4 or 5 people who can all be blamed if something goes wrong, they can start to hide behind each other a bit. I mean, it's all just speculation because we don't hear what's said on the pitch or whatever. But I wonder if that can go against you sometimes, where somebody might be a bit too scared to actually just make the call and say, right, everyone stay back then. You know what I mean? Because it's all, if you're trying to do decision by committee when half the committee aren't in the stadium, you're gonna struggle, I think. Especially, like you say, last minute of the game, you don't have time to get your heads together and go, well, should we go for the corner or not? You need someone to just take it by the scruff of the neck and say, stay back. So, I wonder whether that's just a food for thought sort of thing. But
yeah, definitely. I obviously Flanagan's been having a bit of a dip in form recently, and I think it's a bit disappointing because a lot of people are kind of sort of just slating him again, and now we're thinking, we're just going to play Wright, Bart, and Doyle, and just completely forget about Flanagan. And I don't think it's fair because I think for most of the season, Flanagan's been one of our best players. I think he's been really, really calm on the ball. And it's obviously you're bound to have a dip in form at some point. But
Doyle did earlier in the season, didn't he? Doyle wasn't looking great for a few weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're obviously we're in the games where we lost to Sheffield Wednesday and Rotherham, and even somewhat recently as well. He hasn't maybe looked great, but he's been having a few more decent games. So we are getting there again. But yeah, so hopefully we can just build on that. All right, so we'll go back to the live chat, see if there's anything else happening, any arguments going on. Oliver says, hello, Matthew. Hello, Oliver.
Hello.
Jake Parkinson saying Jack Diamond, although he may not have the quality to start for the club, he did come on against Wickham and did make a positive impact. Now, I'm not going to deny that. I think when this is positive impact, I think he was running forward with the ball and it got the fans on sort of the edge of our seat, really, because it got to sort of stoppage time and we were thinking kind of it's now or never, really, to get a goal. And he came on and did a bit of running with the ball, got forward, maybe beat a player, and I think that's kind of all he really did. But it's I do see what you mean. I do see what you mean. Right, I'm just going to have another little look. AJJ talking about bringing players back. What youngest would you... What is he saying there? What youngest would you have back that the previous regime let go? What does he mean here? What the players that the previous regime let go?
I'll tell you right now, there aren't many players the previous regime let go that I'd have back full stop. Never mind setting limits.
Or maybe he might be talking about the young players that he let go or someone like that. Like maybe Andrew Nelson.
Oh, maybe in terms of how there was a lot of people blame Donald and Methven for not doing adequate contracts for the young players. They were all getting poached. We had 15-year-olds going to Man United and we had Sam Greenwood going to Arsenal and then Leeds and that.
Yeah.
Mumba, I've just seen somebody mention in the chat, is a big one as well.
To be honest with you, I think that happens at many clubs. I'll be honest, but big teams like Liverpool, Man United, teams like that, they've got so much money. They pay whatever for. No matter how old they are, they could just nick players from all the clubs. I've seen it. Chelsea just taking a Derby 18-year-old who's sort of playing the first team, one of the young lads, just for peanuts. But it's just what happens, really. Like, if you get an offer from Man United, Liverpool, or whatever, some teams like that, you can't really. At the end of the day, sometimes a player wants to go. It's not all down to the owners and the regime, because no matter how good an owner might be, if a player doesn't want to be there anymore and he wants to go, then at the end of the day, you've probably got to sell him. And
to be fair, with the ones who are under 17, you can't offer them a professional contract anyway. I think the only one, obviously, Madja was a massive loss at the time, but that's been done to death. I think Ballymumba's one where I was really disappointed when he left, because he'd already shown at the age of 16 he could hack it in the first team to at least some level. He clearly had ability, and he was clearly could handle the pressure of starting the games for the first team. And that was at the first start of the first League One season, where there was massive pressure in that stadium. I remember being at that Charlton game. The tension before that match was, I remember everyone was kind of the same thoughts going through everyone's head of, is this going to be another, what Sunderland's going to turn up? We had no idea, because we all went in the Championship season thinking, we'll piss this league and get back in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it turned into a nightmare, and there was a lot of worry before that game, and he came out and put in a decent performance. So to lose him for relatively small amount of money, to not a Man United or a Liverpool or a Chelsea, but to Norwich, it felt like a bit of a kick in the teeth. I think he's the one where I would have liked to see him stay, but none of them have torn.
He's gone to he's at Peterborough on loan at the moment.
Yes,
he scored a great goal in the FA Cup, I believe, a few weeks ago, and I think he started the last few games in the Championship. So fair play, lad, and I hope he does well.
I think he's the only one who we've let go who's really done anything of any note since he left us. Some of them obviously were only 15 when they left, so they're not old enough yet. But Madja, who we're devastated to lose, he's not exactly set the world alight.
No.
He's done okay, but he's not.
I reckon he'll come back before the end of the window to not to Sunderland, but to the Championship or an English team. I've heard a few rumors about QPR if they're interested. I've heard. But probably one of
he's from London originally, I think. We signed him from
Fulham
down there. So yeah.
Obviously, he went back there recently, and I don't actually think that you can really blame Donald for Madja going, because they honestly, I think that Donald and his team, they did everything they possibly could to keep Madja. They did everything and more, I think. And Madja was just focusing on his football, and he just let his agent deal with everything. And if his agent was brainwashing him, saying no, go to a foreign club, because the agent fee was just going to be just astronomical. The amount of money that his agent was going to get for moving him to Bordeaux was,
and he'd have got a massive signing on fee, the player as well, because with it being abroad, there was no compensation to us really. There was nominal compensation compared to what we could have got. So I think that was a case of money talking.
Exactly. If that's his goal in life, just to chase money, then we'll just let him get on with it, to be honest. But
it's easy for us to forget as well. We all love football. It is a job for them as well. That's their livelihood. So in a way, you can't blame them for wanting to make as much money as possible, as much as the romantic in all of us, would like every player to, go to bed at night dreaming of, I can't wait to pull on the red and white shirt and all that sort of stuff. It's unfortunately the business side does exist.
Well, exactly. I mean, if you're playing for a club and you're on like maybe £2,000 a week, and a club offers you to come and play for quadruple that a week, and to pay you £500,000 or millions of pounds signing on fee, I know which one I'm gonna take.
If German Rail came to you and said, "Hey, Matthew, we'll give you $100,000 a year, mate. Fancy coming and wandering on our trains for us?"
My LNER. I'm just going to show them my LNER chapstick and just tell them, in the words of Nessa, back off. Yeah. But no, listen, if German Rare wants to come and offer me £500,000 and please do. Anyway,
if anyone wants to come and offer me £500,000, I don't care if it's real or whatever.
Literally,
I'll take it.
Literally anything. Yeah, we'll take it. All right then. So let's get back to the comments. Ethan Dixon says, Matthew, disappointed in you. No idea why. Anyway,
just disappointed.
Yeah, everyone agrees. I don't know why, but just disappointed. I don't know what I've done, but everyone's just disappointed. Ben Allison's asking, what time is the quiz? Now, this week, we're going to try an episode without doing the quiz, and we had a few comments, a bit of feedback on social media, and said, do you know what? I love listening to you guys talk about the football, and then it's almost interrupted by the quiz. And I think the quizzes were good in lockdown when the shows were a lot longer, like an hour and a half, 2 hours, even 7 hours. Sorry?
I said we had nothing else to do with our lives.
Well, exactly. We had nothing else to do. No, we had this to do, and it was a very good thing that we did. So, maybe we'll bring the quizzes back in the future. But for now, we're just gonna do the episodes, just talking about football, which is what everyone loves to hear about.
In other words, we've rinsed every Sunderland question off the face of the earth. So
well, actually, I don't think so, because Gary Pearson, he literally has a never-ending Sunderland knowledge brain. He comes out
very special.
Like that, like literally, I've got about 4 or 5 quizzes lined up that he emails me. Like on his day off, he'll just be typing up a Sunderland quiz, and I look at my email and says, "Hi Matthew, just got you another Sunderland quiz," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!"
He'd give Rob Mason a run for his money. That bloke,
definitely. He should have been up at the Beacon of Light talking about the 73 team. Well, that was an incredible speech, by the way, from Rob Mason. If you haven't seen it already, just spoke about the city of Sunderland and what the 73 team did and everything like that. It was really, really good to listen to. A lot of chat about Jack Diamond, saying he's not very good, should be released in the summer. Do slightly agree. Definitely do agree with that.
Just to touch on a wider point with Diamond, though, I feel like a lot, we have in football, there's always a debate about, with young players, do you play them in the first team? Do you send them on loan? Do you keep them in the academy? What do you do? How do you develop a young player? Obviously, it's different for every player, but sometimes I feel like there's players come through our academy and some of them obviously have just got no hope. They never really make any appearances. They just get released. Fair enough. But some players, you hear a bit about them. They score a lot of goals for the youth sides. They're highly rated. Then they make 3 sub-appearances in a season, and everyone goes, "Oh, he might break through next year." Then he makes 5 sub-appearances and 2 starts, and the next year he might be involved in 10 games, and they just never go anywhere. I just wonder whether you think, we as a club and maybe is at fault a bit for kind of hindering the development of these players, or is it just a case of some of them are just not good enough? Because I feel like maybe Diamond could have developed into a more useful option if we had sent him on smarter loan deals or given him more opportunity, but obviously you can never tell.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the kind of player he is as well. He's got this arrogance that he can run with the ball and have, just, I don't know. He has this sort of style about him where he kind of thinks he's quite good when he gets the ball, and then he tries to do something, and then it's very quickly realized actually he's not that good. He's a great runner, for example. He gets the ball, runs with it, and that's what makes the fans get on the edge of their seats, because they see that ball getting near the opposition's, getting through the opposition's half, and and then the attack sort of builds up, and then kind of nothing ever comes from it, and that's the most frustrating thing about Jack Diamond. But just in my opinion. Right, I was going to say, gosh, what else? What else? I'm going to read out.
Stu Shaw doesn't agree with me there. He's not there too fond
of
my
opinion.
Johnny, you're wrong. He's not good enough. Thinks he's better than what he is. It's fair. It's fair enough, to be fair. Like, some players just aren't good enough. But The one just above that, though, from AJJ, Ethan Robson, classic example. He's one who I always thought. I thought Ethan Robson would be what Dan Neil is now.
Yeah.
That's the best sort of comparison I can think of. I remember he scored, when he was only about 18, 19, he scored this worldy free kick for the under-23s, and it was like shared all over the club's Twitter and that. And you would think, it made you sit up and think, this guy's got a strike on him. He's got some technique. I always thought it looked all right when he got in the team, but we just never played him. He just never went anywhere. And unsurprisingly, he then stagnated and was shipped off. You know what I mean? Sometimes I think like maybe we just need to persist a bit more.
Definitely. I mean, he's gone to MK Dons, which is quite telling, really. And Connor Wickham's there now as well. So it's just shows how far his career's gone after leaving Sunderland. To be fair, I didn't even think Connor Wickham was that bad when he played for us. I thought he was.
But he's the one where you just look at him and you think he had that run in the miracle run under Poyet where he scored goals playing through the middle, and then the next season he's shoved out on the left wing. This 6'2", 6'3", not very pacey striker is playing on the wing in the Premier League, and it's no wonder he goes nowhere because what chance has he got? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If you shoved Callum Doyle at left back for a season in the Championship, he's going to look absolutely crap because he's a centre back. Yeah,
exactly. And if you shove Denver Hume at left back, he's going to look absolutely crap as well. So on that as well, Denver Hume. I mean, are you all pleased that he's gone as well, Dan?
Yeah, I think it's the right move for him and the club, really. Obviously, the summer was a bit of a weird one with him and his contract situation. We didn't really hear much about it, and then all of a sudden he's kind of signed after a while. But to me, he seems like someone who's not really sure what he wanted in that moment of time, and I reckon his agent's probably trying to get him the best deal at the moment. I think he's not going to be playing. I think Serkin's head and shoulders above him. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Hume's bad as people. On some of the abuse he's been getting on Twitter about his performances, I think is a bit unnecessary, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
A young lad he's only young, and he came through the academy as well. So I think he's got a bit too much. Don't get me wrong, I don't think he's good enough for our team, but I didn't think he was nowhere near as bad as players like Callum McFadden and people like that. I shouldn't say his name, but.
Just signed for Wrexham in the National League.
Someone asked earlier. They said, "What do you think about him going to Wrexham?" And all we can say is that the thoughts of everyone here at Fans React are with all the Wrexham fans in this.
Someone posted Twitter to think that Ryan Reynolds is going to be watching Callum McFadden play.
Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, the Hollywood actors, are going to be sat there every week going, "Come on, McFadden, go on, you can do it, mate."
Parkinson on the touch, man.
Casting him in the whole show they're making, I think.
Well, he's going to be in the next Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode. Turns up. He turns up and he just gets absolutely pissed on loads of drink, and it's like, that's what he does before a game. Right, fair enough.
But for Hume, we did have a good spell, Hume, when Parkinson, I think Matthew said this before, under Parkinson, when we were 15th in League One at Gillingham away, losing 1-0. It's probably the most depressing time as a football fan. Possibly.
Denver Hume looked amazing.
And he was like, very shining light. I think left wing back he was a lot better, but it didn't help that in the Arsenal game he came on. I thought he was a bit hard done by in that game.
He'd only had like 45, 60 minutes, hadn't he, before that?
And he has to come and defend Pepe and gets absolutely rinsed about 3 times.
Absolute hiding and nothing that.
He's
injury prone as well.
Levels. That was the beginning of the end, really, for him. But hopefully. On Johnny, I was just going to say quickly, just Portsmouth. I think it's a decent sign for him, really. Hopefully, he gets some game time. I think they've sold one of their defenders. I think is it Lee Brown? I think might have gone to Wimbledon today, I believe.
Yeah, Lee Brown.
He's a left back, so that obviously means that Denver Hume probably his replacement and will get some minutes. I wish him the best of luck, and I don't think he was good enough, but I don't think he was as bad as some of the things that people have been saying to us. So
yeah. I mean, like you say, no ill will towards him. Local lads playing for Sunderland, I think sometimes those sorts of players get a weirdly bad time. I remember a lot of people got on Honeyman's back, which I thought was a bit unnecessary.
Don't say that word, though, Matthew.
Sorry. A lot of people got on an unnamed former captain's back. And
he was rubbish.
And criticising performances is more than fair enough, but I just think sometimes people, I don't know, it's sometimes people seem to just give more abuse to the local players. I don't know whether it's, I don't know what it is.
No, I think it's usually the other way around. I think because they cut them a lot of slack, really. I think because they're local lads and whatever. But I don't think that's the case at all. I think if you have the quality, Dan Neil's a perfect example. I have not
Dan Neil's amazing.
seen any one bit of something. Anyone, I don't even know how to word this. I've never seen anyone say a bad word about Dan Neil because he's a local player or anything like that. Like Honeyman wasn't. He was like he was like 24, 25. People just still thought he was this 20-year-old kid.
But I mean, even when like Henderson and Pickford were playing for us, and I mean, Henderson's gone on to captain England at World Cups. Pickford's gone on to be one of England's best players in major tournaments. So clearly both of them had ability. Clearly both of them had the right mentality.
Yeah.
And clearly at the time, both of them were good enough to play for our side. And, Henderson used to get a lot of stick before he went to Liverpool, and people were saying that we'd rip Liverpool off for 20 million. And I mean, even when Pickford was in goal, most of the fans obviously rated him because he was good. But sometimes people just, it's a minority, but sometimes people just seem to just pick at a local player and just, he's rubbish. He's not good enough. I don't know whether it's maybe because sometimes we see them so early, they look a bit raw around the edges. You think, he's not really good enough. Some people just don't change their mind. I don't know what it is. I suppose it happens with all players, not just local players. Sometimes people just form an opinion on the player and it doesn't change. But I don't know. I don't know. It's maybe it's the pressure as well of the expectation on, that's the ideal. You want a local player coming through. So,
well, possibly. And the thing is I'm only ever, as a Sunderland fan, I'm only ever going to judge a player on how they play on the pitch. It's great having all of this, all this story of where you're from and what journey you've been on. But as soon as you step foot over that white line onto the football pitch, that's where I'm going to judge you. Do you not find when people go on like Britain's Got Talent and they come on with this sob
stories,
and then they just put through straight to the finals or something where they get the golden buzzer. They could be absolutely rubbish, but as long as they have the sob story, they'll be put through. Like, it's kind of the same thing for football. If they come on and with this amazing story of how they've come to the club, just automatically give them a standing ovation. It's not like that. The only thing I'm ever going to do is judge a footballer on how they play on the pitch. And for me, that's exactly how I judged Honeyman. I appreciate the journey he'd been on and captain in Sunderland and coming through the academy. Lovely. End of the day, we failed to get promoted. Biggest failure probably in our history. And
it was a bad day. It
was indeed.
But just specifically on Hume, though, injury prone, not first choice. We got 400 grand, which is a lot of money for League One, and a sell-on fee. I mean, would anybody turn that down?
No.
Like, is any person going to look at that deal and think, Sunderland have been shafted there? No.
Exactly.
We've had Portsmouth pants down a bit, really. 400 grand. We paid 250 for Ross Stewart.
I mean, even if we sold him for a bag of quavers, it would have been a brilliant deal.
but I mean, 400 grand and a sell-on.
Yeah,
I mean, that is good business.
It is a very, very good deal, indeed. Well, we are at 4 minutes past 8. Sorry, Dan, did you want to say something?
I was going to say you could improve the pitch with that money.
Yes.
You could nearly improve the pitch. It's actually $500,000 there to have the world class facilities we've got in now.
All we need to do is just put some seeds down and put some lights on the thing. I mean, I could go and do that, I don't know what's so difficult. But anyway, we have gone over time a little bit, about an hour and sort of 4 minutes now. But I'm very sorry for everyone, but we're gonna have to wrap this up, and everyone's got to go and enjoy their Friday night TV and get their early nights for waking up early, traveling to Bolton.
It's time for me to go and get pissed, mate. That's what it is.
Well, exactly. That time of the day. If anyone is traveling to Bolton tomorrow, we'll wish you a very safe journey and a safe journey home as well. Hopefully, we can bring back.
Yeah, make sure you bring the points back, lads.
Exactly. Johnny, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, pleasure as always, Matthew. Absolute pleasure.
Good. And Dan Humphrey as well. Thank you ever so much for coming on and coming back as well. I know you've been busy with all your exams and stuff because you're still in school. I hope those all go well for you.
Thank you very much, Matthew. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to spend a Friday night with two better people.
Oh, well, that's very
He,
nice.
he knows how to butter us up, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He does indeed. But yeah,
O'Brien.
I'm really sorry for everyone on the live chat if I haven't managed to get to your comment. But we'll be back on Friday, 100%. We will be back on Friday, and we'll be back the next Friday and the Friday after, 7 p.m. Don't miss us, and we'll see you then. Away the lads.
Lee Howie!